Hey, welcome back everyone to Tyranny. We're picking right back up in the Conquest part of the game before it actually starts. So we decided to go to the Vellum Citadel for our next kind of stint in the war. The Vellum Citadel was an archive and library of massive scale. Its inhabitants were known as the School of Ink and Quill, a circle of mages that, centuries ago, carved out their own mountainous refuge on lands unsettled by the other major realms. Legends said that the Citadel housed a treasure trove of arcane knowledge. The Overlord's spies infiltrated the school and confirmed as much. The time was ripe to send a detachment to the Great Library Fortress and force the scholars to yield to Kairos. Let's see this one. A detachment of Kairos' army marched on the Vellum Citadel expecting an orderly surrender. As they neared the main gates, a blast of arcane energy struck the commanders dead. Suddenly, the highest-ranking officer alive, Kairos' forces looked to you for the next steps. The call weighed on your mind, as it had an immediate influence on soldier losses. So to side with the disfavored is to order the expendable Scarlet Chorus to attack, commanding the disorderly mob forward to give the elite disfavored a chance to withdraw. Though a costly maneuver in terms of lives lost, this assured the survival of the most capable and effective soldiers. Or you could order the disfavored to advance their shield wall, knowing that a handful of Kairos' elite soldiers would hold off the attack until the Scarlet Chorus retreated. You knew the disfavored would despise you for any losses at the Scarlet Chorus' expense, but that was a small price to pay for saving lives. So we'll go with that. We'll side with the Scarlet Chorus on that mark. The disfavored were quick to follow your command and formed an unbreakable phalanx that gave the unarmored Scarlet Chorus horde a chance to escape. Only once they returned to camp did the singed and maimed disfavored take issue with their orders. As far as they were concerned, the Scarlet Chorus should have taken care of themselves. If they weren't equal to the challenge of defending their brethren, then they had no place in this conquest. Let's see. The army captured a supply caravan overflowing with arcane books. When the disfavored started a bonfire for forbidden texts, the Scarlet Chorus rescued the tomes from the flames and attacked. So I could have all of it burned, upholding Kairos' law. And what I'm actually going to do, though, is I'll decree that the disfavored are welcome to burn their half of the plunder, but the Scarlet Chorus has rightful claim to the other half, provided you first review the texts to eliminate any that touched on forbidden knowledge. The Scarlet Chorus agreed to your generous terms, and you set to poring over every manuscript before it was handed over. The work took several evenings, and you came away with a glimpse of truths better left unknown. Taking the burden upon yourself was a less risky alternative than disseminating it among Kairos' ranks, though it didn't help you sleep at night. The Edict of Fire. Disgusted by your approbation of the Scarlet Chorus, the disfavored forces withdrew from the field of battle. Your small detachment now lacked the manpower to take the Vellum Citadel. Tunon sent word that Kairos' patient had run thin. The Overlord would cast an Edict of Fire on the enemy. The parchment arrived in a slender case of engraved iron. Written on it, the words of a spell powerful enough to destroy the Vellum Citadel. You had the choice of when to read the edict. Reading it at sunrise would offer your enemies no warning of the devastation to come. You could also wait until sunset, giving them ample time to flee or make amends. So I'm going to opt to give the enemy no quarter. I will proclaim the Edict of Fire at the first moments of dawn, granting the enemy no warning of the destruction to come. Though the chorus insisted your actions doomed their spies, the disfavored applauded your decision. You read the edict as the new sun rose behind the citadel, casting a long shadow in its wake. You were the last person to see that hall of knowledge the moment before the devastation. The earth shook, and red-orange light glowed in the foundation of the sprawling citadel. Bubbling up from under the library, a torrent of lava heaved with explosive force, gushing from the windows and between loose bricks, melting hostile trenches into the surrounding land. The mages awoke to smoke and fire. For most, it is already too late. Only a handful of bewildered mages escape the smoldering collapse of the massive library fortress. Kairos' will be done. The armies of Kairos left the devastation of the Vellum citadel in silence. From that day forward, the Tears came to know the once noble citadel as the Burning Library. This was an undisputed loss of resources, knowledge, culture, and life, but a message had been sent. The Overlord will not tolerate defiance. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. You were one of the last to depart from the mountains, and as you journeyed off, you spotted a few campfires in the mountains. They were mere specks, dwarfed by the inferno, the last gasps of survivors, or perhaps looters from Kairos' army, bored and daring enough to pick through the ashes. Alright, so that's our conquest. So that sets us up to pretty much have a reputation with all the major players in the game. In retrospect, I probably could have finished that up.
The year is 431, and Kairos' invasion has shattered all major opposition in the tiers. The Younger Realms, the Bastard Tier, the Free Cities. All who defied Kairos lay broken by battle, or bowed in surrender. The two armies of the Overlord, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, now control our lands. But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely. In the Valley of Vendrian's Well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kairos have banded together in defiance. Violating an oath of surrender from 2 years prior, we have staged a bloody uprising, murdering the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus garrison in a midnight assault. With their main forces spread across the tiers, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus redeploy to Vendrian's Well to crush the resistance, but months pass with no definitive battle. As disagreement and discord paralyze the Archons, we bide our time and wait for our message of insurrection to spread across the tiers. The Overlord is not amused, and Kairos has one message for the Archons. Crush the Oathbreakers, or die. Kairos backs this threat with an edict, a magical commandment that can slay all in the valley should the order be ignored. The honor of proclaiming this edict fell to you. Sent across the mountains to Vendrian's Well, you carry the Overlord's edict to read before the Archons. As you finally make your way through the winding mountain passes into the valley, the ground trembles, and Kairos' magic seals the way behind you. You are trapped in Vendrian's Well, with Kairos' armies and the Oathbreakers. The only way to survive is to fulfill the terms of the Overlord's edict, in any way that you can.
I should probably turn off tutorials. Okay. And so let's talk to this Disfavored, named Aurora. Kairos the Overlord be praised. When I heard the avalanche, I feared the valley was sealed with you on the other side. The Disfavored warrior claps her gauntlet to her breastplate, the traditional salute of her legion. gain favor with the disfavored. She says, "A pleasure to see you again, Fatebinder. You were with us since before the first official days of the conquest, and so it's fitting you're here now in what I hope is that last gasp of resistance from these backwards tearsmen. Here's hoping you can convince the Archons to settle on a plan to crush the Oathbreakers," which, let's take a look. In honor of the Vendrian Guard reneging on the surrender of 429, soldiers in both the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus now refer to those tearsmen as Oathbreakers. It is perhaps one of the few points of agreement between the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus. So this is actually where I came in the second kind of part of the conquest. I came and helped take this kind of central valley that lies in the middle of everything. She says, "That's why you're here, right? To help convince them to a plan?" So, because I have a high enough lore, I can say this. Can you hear that hum in the air? That glow around the rocks? The avalanche is Kairos' magic. The Overlord has sealed the valley. And you get experience anytime you use a particular skill, which also includes conversations, so... Aurora says, "Your senses see more than mine, good Fatebinder. I do not pretend to know much about such things, but if that was Kairos' magic and you're here on important business, well, you don't have to be the Archon of Secrets to guess that you're here to proclaim an edict. What does Kairos have in store for the enemy? 10 years of festering plague? An edict of twisted bones?" I'm going to deliver it straight to the Archons. She says, "Well, you have traveled a long way. I won't keep you further. I'm sure the Archons will want to hear from you at..." Her voice falls silent, her attention snapping eastward with alarm. "Did you hear that?" She says, "More runners. Third time this week. The Oathbreakers keep trying to send messengers through the mountains to gather help from outside the valley." She points over to the collapsed path by which you arrived. "But they're a bit too late for that now. Come, let's show these Oathbreakers a good fight." So this is combat.
Sorry, I can't.
It is undisputably the weakest part of this game, while still not being bad by any stretch. But I'm playing a mage, so I'm just gonna... That hit him? Oh, okay. You just kinda gotta wait for rounds to go. Okay. And let's loot him.
I got it.
Okay, so we have a rock here. If we had better athletics, we could push it and maybe even crush some of these guys, but we're going to squeeze through the gap. Because we are not very athletic.
Heads up! We have company!
Okay. So I'll keep buffing myself.
Hi.
These first few combats are pretty tough before you have like your full party of 4. And if they're not tough, they can be a little boring. There we go. What I really want to do is start getting some spells so I can talk about how magic works in this game, because it's extremely neat.
I got it.
I should have chosen no voice. What have I done? So you see I'm getting experience even for making basic attacks and stuff like that in battle. It's not like when you kill somebody. Let's see. Got a spear that nobody will use. Great. That's a pretty good mushroom. Giving you a revive. Let's see, do we have any magic options? No, just the ones we have. So, yeah, the way that magic works is you get different core sigils that kind of correspond to the different schools of magic, and then you have an expression of it, so that, you know, it might be like a long-range spell, it might be a short-range one, it could be an area of effect around somebody, and then there's 10 different accents, as you can see here, and different levels of these accents, and you can kind of mix and match around and create very custom spells.
Try and catch me, worm.
Voice acting in this game isn't great. Try and catch me, worm. A young Scarlet Fury, who are the elite fighters of the Scarlet Chorus, distinguished by their graceful attacks and murderous persistence. Better armed and trained than most Chorus conscripts, the Furies are found among the vanguard of battle. Their brutal displays of skill inspiring bloodlust in the masses and fear in the enemy. So she weaves around the Vendrian Guard attackers, avoiding their weapons with fluid grace. She nods to acknowledge you. A breathless enemy soldier passes a glance at her to her countrymen. This one's crazy. Too much lead in her water. We should cut our losses and turn back.
Ha! Fate Finder. You're here at last. Here to join me in putting these cowards out of their misery.
She nods to the armed soldiers bearing down on her. I'll join the battle and say, save something for me. Sun Soldier says, for the realm of Apex, charge! The Vendrian Guard level their weapons and advance. Nope, I don't want to be controlling you both at once. Actually, I want to immediately put on AI for you.
On it!
And I want to buff you.
I'm in my sights. Phew. I can tell you didn't spend the conquest in a diplomat's tent.
The fighter surveys the fresh corpses and nods with satisfaction.
I'm Verse, by the way. But there are more important things to take care of than introductions. Those Vendrian Guard we killed didn't come alone.
She gestures to the skirmish unfolding in the pass below, shaking her head. I'm ready if you are.
Eager. I like that. Before we go, you might search among the remains of our fallen comrades. Wherever they're bound, I doubt they'll miss their boots, much less any rings or any useful iron they might be clutching.
Rings are currency. I see your point. Nice and practical.
No reason to pity the fallen. Before long, we might wish we'd joined them here. But at least we'll enjoy heavy pockets and warm toes. For the voices of Nerat!
Yeah, and we have a couple of things here. For me, this is better armor. For Verse, this is a good helmet. And then this is a scroll with a magical accent on it that I can learn. So I will learn that. And now I can go and adjust my spells. So I only require a lore of 15 for a spell this complicated. I have a lore of 46, so that is no problem whatsoever. And we can even, so this was a range sigil, so it increases the range from 2 meters to 4. We can update that. And we'll do the same with our buff. And we can actually go ahead and give both of these spells to Verse as well. Since she has a high enough lore skill even with those accents. Okay, so let's go down here. That's a lot of dudes. Tarkus Demos says, "Eyes forward, no looking back." The Vendrian Guard warrior roars with his falx head high, his words largely lost over the din of combat. The falx is apparently like a scythe, but made for war. Because like the small folk of the tiers in the past had just been farmers who used scythes, and it became kind of an honor weapon among the Vendrian Guard, at least, if not the tiersmen in general. So I gained favor with the Vendrian Guard. Tarkus says, "You?" As his attention lands on you, a double take of recognition comes over the man's face. The Peacebinder from the war. So this is a result of our conquest decision. We're called the Peacebinder here because we were able to save a lot of lives by negotiating peace without a huge, horrible battle. He says, "If you've come to once again talk peace, it seems you're too late." I'll say, "Drop your weapon, and perhaps we can settle this without bloodshed." Tarkus says, "We knew that violating the surrender meant an end to what little mercy and goodwill Kairos' forces have or ever will show us. Now there's no turning back." He shakes his head with a frown. "I know you tried to do right by us in the past, but now you're between us and the way out. Nothing personal." Verse says, "Fatebinder, did I hear that correctly? Maybe you misunderstand why we're here." Let's see. As he signals his men to charge, the sound of chanting rises from the south, drawing his attention. Scarlet Chorus reinforcements, hurry! Mocking Blaze, who is a mage for the Scarlet Chorus, says, "Run down the Oathbreakers, let none escape." From the red mob of reinforcements from the south, a blood chanter emerges at the head of the rabble, the ornamental crest of her staff pulsing with crimson tones. Signing sigils of magic and wordlessly moving her mouth, the blood chanter scribes a series of spells into the air. A red glow surrounds the Vendrian Guard warriors as the chanter's magic worms its way into their minds, blinding them with rage. Tarkus says, "Hold position, all of you! You there, keep to the path!" The warrior gestures along the canyon trail, but his soldiers turn their attention to the Scarlet Chorus, roaring challenges. "No, don't engage them! We need to run!" His orders falling on deaf ears, the warrior reluctantly readies his weapon. Okay. Verse first. And then I want to work on these spear throwers, because they are the DPS here. Let's see, Verse is already getting a little low on health, so we'll have her heal. Okay, so that was a combo ability between Dandy Jars and Verse. I can use it once per encounter. We essentially just need to be like standing right next to each other. She knocks somebody down prone, and I follow it up with a bleeding attack. So I can see that he's bleeding, which I guess means reduced armor? I'm not sure. There's a lot of moving parts to combat here, so.
I got it.
I continue to buff Verse. Okay, kill this tank. There we go. Okay, that went pretty well.
Count on it.
A crescent runner says, "Come quick. We have a situation on the cliffside. They have the commander." And I'll come just as soon as I'm done looting all these bodies. They don't have anything that I can wear. But maybe somebody else on me will. I don't really want to wear a stupid hat, so I won't. See, like, this is pretty good. Like, food skills, food bonuses are kind of crazy. They can increase your stats significantly. It's kind of like Fallout New Vegas with the magazines, which is part of why I fucking love that game. Like, just a magazine hound. Okay. So I wondered. Oh well, too late. Pelix Tyrell says, "Stow your weapons, or we find out how long a man screams before hitting the ravine down below." Cornered between a precipitous drop and a band of angry soldiers, the Oathbreaker warrior holds a disfavored officer at knife point. Drastus, the officer, says, "Skewer him! Worry not for me, Graven Ash will protect." The disfavored officer winces, blood seeping from the seams of his bracers and cuirass. Mocking Blaze says, "You heard the man. He plainly invited you to use that little blade of yours. What are you waiting for? Permission from your pimp?" Pelix Tyrell says, "This blade?" With a jerk of the knife, he slices off a clump of Drastus's matted hair. "If you're so eager to see your ally dead, just step closer." So because I have a reputation here in Vendrian as well, because of the conquest, I have a special option. "I'm Dandy Jars. My name should be known to you, and it should be an honorable one. Please give me the knife." So the Scarlet Corps doesn't like that, but the disfavored does. Pelix says, You're Tunan's envoy?" He watches you closely for a long moment until his posture slackens, and he lowers the knife. "If you will vouch for my safety, then I'll..." His sentence is halted by a spear thrust into his lung. Leaping forward the moment Tyrell lowered his blade, the disfavored soldiers slaughter the Oathbreaker. Dazed but alive, Drastus lets out a long sigh and struggles to his feet. I'll say, "I offered that man mercy, and you made a liar out of me." So now I got wrath with the disfavored, which is not the same as losing favor with the disfavored. So we'll talk about that after this conversation ends. This stone shield back there says, "But these mongrels require a firm hand. They can't be trusted, and..." And I will say, the fault lies with the Oathbreaker for forcing our hand. Just clean up this mess. The warrior nods, clapping her gauntlet to her breastplate in salute. At once. Drastus says, "Kairos be praised. That Oathbreaker fought with the rage of Cairn himself." We can talk about Cairn for a second. Cairn is the mountainous Archon of Stone. He accompanied the disfavored on the conquest of the Tiers. His temper and proclivity toward destructive solutions often branded him a liability to the otherwise orderly takeover, but his powers were not easily dismissed. During the Azure campaign, Cairn went on a rampage, declaring himself independent of Kairos and the conquest an unlawful sham. Kairos drafted the Edict of Stone to put an end to the rebellious Archon, and his petrified corpse rests in the ruins of Azure to this day. Drastus slides a trembling hand along the cut on his neck. "Thank you, Fatebinder. I thought today was my last." From the look of it, guess they thought if they swarmed the pass, maybe one might make it out? We found a few scraps of parchment on the bodies. Dressus holds out a handful of crumpled parchments for your inspection. A student of letters such as yourself should be able to make sense of this. So because I have lore, I can see... Or this is, essentially, literacy is rare in the North. Very few disfavored soldiers know more than a few written words. Literacy is uncommon in the tiers, but the nobility of the younger realms have taught literacy to the firstborn noble for centuries. Now, many of these disenfranchised nobles have fallen in with the uprising, and they rely on written messages, knowing most of Kairos' forces will be unable to decipher the contents. So Kairos specifically keeps their people illiterate. So I'll examine the parchment. Repeating the same messages in different written scripts, the parchments explain the Vendrian Guard's desire to overthrow Kairos' Archons and rout their armies from the tiers. The pages aren't addressed to any specific reader, but rather openly invites, quote, all who remain loyal to the younger realms, end quote, to gather at Vendrian's Well. I'll say recruitment material. They were trying to bring more traitors to the fight. Drastus says, well, from the look of it, we kept them from slipping out of the valley. Whatever they hoped to accomplish, I think their plan died here. The Archons are expecting you. When you're ready, leave by the gate to the southeast and follow the trails downslope for a few hours. You'll see the campfires leagues away. Can't miss it. Okay. So let's loot this guy, because why not? And he has a good ring. And a magical sigil. So let's learn that. And let's equip this ring. Let's look at our magic here. So what he had on him was not an accent, but a new expression. So these spells that we've been using are the real short range ones. This is specifically long range. And it causes a stun effect instead of causing knockback. So because we have a super high lore, we can... Oh, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Oh well. Do that. And then... So not all expressions work with all cores, so we're not able to make any vigor spells with the long range kind of core. But let's take a look-see at reputation. So let's see, like, so for the Scarlet Chorus, for example, we see Favor and Wrath here. As these things go up, like if my Wrath gets to a certain point, I'll start getting a passive ability, defense against bleeding and burning attacks, and eventually an active ability that causes some stuff. Also, Favor similarly has bonuses as well, so kind of no matter if you're pissing off people or making friends with them, your reputation will have some kind of bonus for you. You're really... The only punishment is for being super neutral.
Sorry, I can't.
Let's see, can I use this? Nope, I don't have high enough of athletics to climb that. I'm just kind of poking around for things to find. What? I think that must have bugged. I'm pretty sure Darkus died.
Sorry,
Okay.
I can't. Sorry, I can't.
So there's a little path this way, which might have something that we can use. Okay, we have enough athletics to get up this wall. And it's important to get points in athletics whenever you can, if you're a mage, because you will not have a lot of opportunities. And I don't think either of us have, no, neither of us have enough subterfuge to pick that lock, so we're just gonna leave. Okay, we'll go to the world map. So we get a real little world map just for this prologue chapter. But let's call it there for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.